All right, welcome back to the second part of our introductory GIS techniques, part of my spatial econometrics project course. So I'm going to teach you a little bit more this time. So last time, if you haven't watched the first part, I encourage you to go do it. The first time we downloaded a map of the world, a map of some U.S. states, and then we deleted some areas we might not want, and then we saved the map. And so let me show you briefly where you can download these things. If you go to my website, which is spatial.berkeyacademy.com, I have links here for downloading the programs that we'll be using, Map Window, LibreOffice, and the map files and the income data we'll be using. So go to spatial.berkeyacademy.com and you can download all that stuff is free. That's one of my big things I'm trying to do in this series is stick to free programs and free data wherever it is possible at all to do so. So we already did these parts. Let me show you just to recap very briefly. We started with this world map outline here and a map file with the 50 U.S. states plus the territories, Puerto Rico, Guam, American Samoa, and the Virgin Islands. And then we edited this pink map down and then we saved a version that only had the purple area here, these 48 contiguous U.S. states plus Washington, D.C. So I showed you how to do that. So what we're going to do in this one is we're going to download some data and we're going to read it or attach it into this map file, the purple map file here, and then we're going to make a Chloropleth map, a color map that indicates incomes, although you could use the same technique with pretty much any kind of data. Let me show you one little thing first, which will be helpful. As we were creating this, I made a mistake, which is okay. You're going to make mistakes while you're doing this. And we created this file called Lower 48 States, which also still included Guam, I believe. And we didn't want Guam. So then we saved another file called Lower 48 New, which is the one that we're actually going to use. Suppose we want to get rid of this and download it. Not download it, sorry. We want to get rid of it and delete it. Let me show you how to do that. The first thing you want to do before you try to delete a file is unload it from the map program. So we want to right-click it and click Remove Layer. That will get it out of the memory of the mapping program. Otherwise, trying to delete it while you're using it might cause problems. So now let's look at our little folder here that has all of our map files here. So Lower 48 New, as I think I mentioned before, a map or a shape file, usually we think of as .shp. This is not the only file involved. Maps or shape files are actually a group of files. A database file that has the data, projection file. A projection file tells us how we take a spherical world and we project it onto a flat surface. And there are a lot of different ways, thousands of ways you can choose to do that. Here's the Lower 48 States one that we want to get rid of. All you have to do is select all the files here that are in that group and delete them. So sometimes there will be 3, sometimes there will be 5, sometimes maybe more. Just select all those and delete them while they're not loaded in the map program. Easy enough. Now what we want to do is take some data and add it into the map so that we can make a color-coded or Chloropleth map out of this. So what we're going to want to do is somehow get the data into this .dbf database file. Let me show you a couple of ways to do that. Now the data we're going to be working with, again, I have a link on spatial.berkeyacademy.com. This is some free data from the United States Census Department where they have median household income estimates by state based on some survey data. And suppose we wanted to bring this into our map. How are we going to do that? Well, if you only have a few regions and maybe one variable you want to do, then a quick way to do this would just be to go over here to your map and right-click, go to the Attribute table editor we saw once before. And all we have now are the state, abbreviation, name, FIPS code, longitude, and latitude. This federal naming code that's for all states and counties and cities and metro areas that you use a lot of times in mapping applications. If we want to add this median income variable, we can click Edit, Add Field, give it a name, maybe median income. We have to select what type of variable this is. String is just for words, so the state abbreviation and the state name would be strings. Integer, things that have to be integers, 0, 1, 2, 3, or -5, for example. Double is what you want to stick with in most cases for numerical data that might have decimal places, might not be integers. I stick with double for just about everything that's data that I might want to work with, do averages with, do some kind of calculations or mapping the values. So choose double most of the time. Since we're working with a database, we have to tell it the maximum width. It's always better to go a little wider than you think you ever might go. 10 digits is plenty here. The precision is the number of decimal places. You don't have to worry with that too much. You could use 0, 1, 2, or 3. If you look at this data here, it looks as if it's rounded off to the nearest whole number, although it actually isn't. That's just the display format that we're looking at here. And we'll see that in a minute when we read this data in. So let's just hit OK, and that will create a blank column here, database field, where all the values are missing or null. If you just have a few values, then what you can do is just type these values in here by hand. So we could say, okay, Alabama. Let's use the newest data here because we have either 2010 to 2011 estimates or 2008, 2009. Let's go ahead and use the most recent values. So Alabama 42407. We can just double click in here. I'm going to highlight that null so it overtypes it. 42407 here. So just type 42407, enter. Be careful. Don't put any $ or commas in these numbers because that will usually cause some kind of errors later on down the road, if not immediately. Arkansas. Let's see. Now, also keep in mind that these are not in the same order. This is a constant pain that you have to deal with when you're dealing with data that's stored in a database and other data that you're getting from another source. It's often not going to be sorted in the same order. So let's see. What was second? Arkansas 40553. All right. 40553, enter. So if you only had a few values, you could do this by hand, and then when you're done, you could hit apply and close. What if you have 10 different columns of data that you want to do at the same time? How would you do that without having to type everything by hand? It's still going to be a long method, so be patient with me. But unless you're very good with database commands and techniques, be careful, be slow, be deliberate, and double check everything, because I've created enough mistakes by trying to rush through things. I want you to learn from my mistakes rather than recreating them. Let me show you a different way you can do this that will be a little quicker if you have a lot of data. It's still not going to be fast, but I'm not going to go into teaching you how to do database commands. That would be a little much here. So let's click apply. So suppose we wanted to create 10 variables and bring the data in from another source. What I would do if I were you, if I were new at this, is create all the columns here. I would say add field, give the name, the type, the width, etc. Hit OK, and keep doing that to add those blank columns in the mapping program if you're new at this, which most of you probably are. Click apply, which is going to save the changes to the database, and close. Now let's close this map. Let's hit X here. Do I want to save the changes? So I've already saved this before. And what we're saving here, just to be clear, is a file that tells Map Window what we have open. That we have these 3 layer files open, and that what we were looking at was a close-up of the 48 lower states. So that's what we're saving, is this group of files opened. It's not actually saving the data. It's just it's saving a file that if we click on it will tell Map Window, open the program Map Window, and open these 3 files and show me this view again. So let's save the changes. Now, what are we going to do? We want to go back to this database file, and somehow we want to open it up and bring this data in. It used to be that you could use Excel, and you can still use Excel to open a DBF file, but you can't save anymore. At least with Excel 2007, you couldn't save it anymore. So what do you do? Well, that's why I use Libreoffice to do this. So let me open up Libreoffice Calc. There's also a database program in LibreOffice. It's just like OpenOffice, and it's actually uses some of the same source code as OpenOffice. And you could use OpenOffice for this as well if you wanted to. I'm going to use the calculator instead of it's like the spreadsheet program instead of the database program, because this is going to be most familiar to most of you. What we can do is open up the LibreOffice Calc here, and then we can just take that database program and left click with our mouse and drag it on here. When you open a database, it's usually going to ask you what kind of character set. I just choose the default international. Normally will work for most occasions. Here we're just looking at that attribute file that we were looking at in our map earlier, and here's that new variable we created. And it tells us the name of the variable, comma, n for a numeric variable, 10 is the maximum width, and 3 the number of decimal places here. So no problem with that. Here's our Excel data. What are we going to do here? Well, let me copy this data. And remember, this last column is the median income from 2010-2011 estimate. That's what we want to use. Let me copy all that, paste it on a new Excel spreadsheet. Now I'm going to delete these middle 3 columns that we don't really want, and I'm going to delete the first row. Let's just type state and median income here, so we remember what it is. And now I'm going to copy this, and I am not going to paste it here. I'm going to paste it beside what we were looking at. Now, why am I doing this? Let me try to explain what it is we're really looking at and what we're doing and what we don't want to do. Columns A, B, C, all the way through F, this is the database, and you can't just do things to this database that you would normally do in a spreadsheet. Do so at your peril. I've done it and I've made these mistakes. Please don't do it. You can't sort these. Why not? Well, because if you do, when you open your map back up, if you sort these columns, which would actually make our life a lot easier, if you sort them, when you open it back in your map, then the shapes for the different states are going to be associated with the wrong data about those states. Let me be clear and say that again. If you sort these, or if you move the columns around, if you sort based on state abbreviation or state name or latitude, if you sort in the spreadsheet and you open it, you save it and open it back up in your map, the map's not going to know that you sorted it, and the numbers will be associated with the wrong shapes. And so then if you make a color map, it's going to be totally wrong. Try it and try it if you don't believe me, and you'll see what I mean. So what we're going to have to do here is do this by hand. Literally, we're going to have to sort to match up these states over here. Anything we do over here in columns G through M, that's okay. We can't change anything about the ordering or the ordering of the columns or the rows over here in A through F, because that's the database. So what you have to do, and I'm sorry, but this is unless you know how to do this using database commands properly, if you want to do this a visual, easy way, you're going to have to sort these by hand. So what we're going to have to do is delete Hawaii and Alaska, and we're going to have to sort these states to be in the same order as these. Now keep in mind here that this is not in alphabetical order. It's sort of roughly in some sort of alphabetical order, but at the end here are Maryland and Texas and South Carolina after Wyoming. This isn't anything that we did that is our fault. That's just the way this database file is. And so what you want to do is first get rid of the commas and dollar signs if there are any in your data. Because you can't have those as part of numbers. So select the numbers, right click, format, get rid of the thousands separator. Then we just got to put them in the right order. So Alabama, then Arkansas. Now in LibreOffice you can highlight and grab it with the left mouse button and move it. So Arkansas, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut. We can move those up there. But then District of Columbia is next, and then Delaware, then Florida, then Georgia. So you're just going to have to carefully move these around until they match up. I'm going to pause the video and finish sorting these, and then I'll come back and show you the result. But basically what we're going to do is after we get them lined up, then we can copy and paste these over here. But let me pause the video so I don't bore you too much. Okay, so by hand I moved all these rows up and down and everything, and now I've got them in the right order. Now we can take these numbers and copy them and paste them over here. And it asks me, I'm pasting into cells that has data. Okay, no problem. So we've pasted our data, and you got to double check several times that things are in the same order, because otherwise it's garbage in, garbage out. And if you're pretty sure you do, you want to delete these two columns over here that you're not using anymore. And then save the file. So File, Save, and it asks you, do you want to use the DBase format or the ODF Open Database format? Keep it in the DBase format. That's what the DBF stands for. It's kind of an old style database file structure. Now we can close that, and let's open up our map file. So here's that berkeyacademy.mwprj file. This is the map window file that if you double click it, it'll open up those three files that we were looking at before. All right, let me resize this where we can see everything that we're doing here. Okay, so it opens up those same three files with the same view that we were looking at before. Let's double check. I can't emphasize how many times I've screwed up trying to bring in outside data. Let's look at that attribute table editor again, and I'm telling you, spot check with your original data to make sure that things look right. And don't just check the first few, check some of the ones in the middle, because when things are in different order, that's where things are usually going to screw up. So here, let's see, like Indiana 46020, Indiana 46020. So things are looking pretty good. Let's close that and let's go ahead and make our Chloropleth map here. See what it looks like. So there are a few ways to do this. Here's the way I usually approach it in a GIS, and it's similar in ArcGIS and in Map Window here. Right click on the layer you want to use to create your map and go to Properties, and then click on Categories here. And this lists the numeric fields, those double precision type fields we're looking at. Click on median income. It asks you the number of categories you want to use here. Let's use 10 different categories. So this will split the median incomes into 10 different bins, if you will. Then you click the color scheme you want to use for your map. And you want to choose something that's going to be visually easy to understand. You can do this. You can set the colors of the bins by hand also if you want to, or you can change them later. Let's use this red to green. So red for low values, green for high values of median income, and sort of whitish and yellowish for middle values. Click Generate, and that will list the bins that it creates here, along with the color scheme that it's going to use. And then we can click Apply. Now the first thing you want to do when you do this is just ask yourself, does the map I just made make sense? Because this is a way to visually see if you screwed up somewhere with getting these values in. So for example, you might wonder, wow, Washington State, does that really have such a high median income? Well, let's see. That green color looks like it's around 57,000. Let's go back to our original data here and see. Washington State, 57,392. Okay, that could be right. That could be right. It does make sense that these southern states here are lower median income, and that New England is usually higher median incomes. But you might want to spot check a couple of these just one last time. Maybe Kentucky. Is that really so low? Is Kentucky, say, between 40 and 42,000 for median income? Check the original data just to make sure. Yep, 41,129 according to this data. So now the last thing you probably want to do is to be able to save this map as a picture. So let's go ahead, and I just moved this out of the way. Let's just go ahead and hit OK for that window. Let's save a picture of our map and an image of our legend here so that we could post this on a website or use it in a paper. So let's hit Project and Export. So we can export a graphics file of our map or a high quality file. I'll just do a normal, I don't know, whatever quality this is, and we can call this median income map.jpg. Hit Save. And then to get the let's just see what we saved there. Well, it didn't save it on my desktop. Let me save it again. Project Export Map. Okay, let me save it on my desktop here. Median income map.jpg. Okay, there it is on the desktop. And so we can see our map, and you can see it's a little blurry here, but so if you wanted a higher resolution, you could use the high quality option. And now if you want a legend, Project Export the legend. And we can say income legend here .jpg, for example. And there's our legend file. And you could easily use this and edit this to put it in a paper or put it on a website. So as you can see, I already uploaded this file to my website so that we can see that on spatial.berkeyacademy.com, and so it makes a nice little map image that you can use for lots of things. So I'm going to end this video here because it's getting pretty long and we've covered a lot of difficult, tedious material, but hopefully now you have the skills to take a shapefile, edit it a little bit, and bring in some data and make a basic Chloropleth map. We'll come back and we'll make some more videos using some techniques that are specifically useful for doing spatial statistics in the future. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at spatial.berkeyacademy.com. I'm not an expert in GIS programs, but if I can help you, I will. Good luck mapping your own data.